Is the USS Lexington haunted? It's one of the biggest questions here in the coastal bend, and we wanted to find out some answers. So we grabbed a paranormal investigative team. We took them on the carrier to see what we could find. What does the warning mean?
Oh, now that was clear.
So before we get to the actual paranormal findings, we wanted to speak with the Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigative Team, and we're here with the founder, Margaret Prescott. And Margaret, you guys have actually been on the Lexington numerous times, so I know that you guys have actually had a lot of different experiences.
Yes, we have. One of the experiences that I personally have had was in the close to the very bottom of the ship. I was with another investigator and we heard a very loud female scream. And after doing research, I found out there only had been one female that had died on the carrier, and that was back in 1989. I don't know, I can't really explain it, but it was just extremely loud. We've heard voices just come out of nowhere when we know there's nobody else that's there.
In all of the different times y'all have been on the USS Lexington, you've experienced, it's never the same experience. It's always something different.
Yeah, it's always something different that you're going to experience. What I find while investigating is just to be normal. You know, you can sit there and just have a normal conversation. You've got your audio recorders going, and that's when you really capture the most. I mean, you can do a lot, you know, ask a lot of questions and so forth, but what I find a lot easier and just more informative is just be yourselves, have a conversation, but pause during your conversations. That's when I think we've gotten our most evidence.
Would you say that you guys have almost learned or found more things every single time you come onto the ship?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that, because each time is different. You can go on there and get absolutely nothing. And another time you can go on there and actually capture something. So it can go either way.
And the Lexington itself, I think a lot of people, and we talked about this when we were there the night before Halloween, that a lot of people kind of have this preconceived notion that the Lexington isn't even really haunted, or it's not the real Lexington. Well, I mean, explain that.
The thing of it is that I think the real Lexington I'd probably say have to go back to 1925. But in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, as many times I've been on the ship, I mean, I've been asked many times, do I think that it's haunted? And I would probably have to say no. That I think there's paranormal activity because we actually have captured paranormal activity. But a haunting, to me, constitutes something that's dark, you know, not really necessarily evil, but something that's dark. And I don't see anything dark on the USS Lexington. So I think there's residual energy there as far as paranormal goes. I do believe there's paranormal activity on there, but I think it's the sailors. They're still doing their job. They're still protecting our country. But anything sinister, no.
I love that you said that, though, because you're right. I mean, the Lexington has so much history.
There's a lot of history.
And all of the sailors that were on there, like you said, they're doing their job, and it's almost as if they're still here. So they're not here to hurt anybody.
No, they're not. I've been all over that ship from one end to the other, way down at the bottom, and I've never felt anything that was bad. I've always felt like, you know, it's just good. You know, that's how I feel about it. But in my opinion, there's nothing on that ship that would hurt anybody.
And of course, when we get into these findings here in just a few minutes, what was probably the most surprising thing that you found from the night before Halloween when we were all together?
The most surprising thing that I think I found was when we actually went up onto the flight deck, and we had the ghost portal sitting there, and we turned it on, and we were hearing a conversation between a man and a woman through there. And I was kind of surprised. I couldn't make out what they were saying, but out of the home night, I think that was the most interesting thing that could have possibly have happened.
Is there anything else that you would like to share that we haven't even talked about that you just would find is most interesting about being on the Lexington with all the findings, all the different nights you've been there?
I think the most interesting thing about being on the Lexington itself is the history that's behind the ship, well, the carrier, I should say. The history and the people that we've worked with on the Lexington. It was really a great experience. But like I said, each time you go and you do an investigation on there, sometimes you can actually get something and sometimes you won't. You won't get anything.
Well, we're going to find out exactly what it was that we did find and what y'all found while y'all were there on the Lexington. We're going to speak to your son Monty here in just a few minutes. So make sure you stay with us and we'll actually get to those paranormal findings. Has been telling us all day since we've been here about all the different paranormal experiences that people have had here on this ship. And Bill, I'm curious now, for you, what has probably been the one experience that really just shocked you that you've heard or maybe you even experienced on your own?
Full-bodied apparition down in passageway damage control. I wasn't even working that day, but my wife and I were here to see a Vietnam veteran display. Anyway, it was new, so I was watching that, looking at that, and at one point, I'm going to look around and see where she's at, but it's a real confined area, so I don't want to bump into anybody, so I look back over my left shoulder, and there's this young man standing there, about your height, brown eyes, brown hair. He looked Italian, and I could see he was wearing a light blue shirt, and so I looked back and saw him, then saw my wife, and I thought I'm going to go, so I looked back again and say, to tell him I'm going to step back, and he's not there. That was validated, though, about 2 or 3 months later. Had another paranormal group come on here that was taking snapshots. We were down in that area, and the leader of the group happened to take a shot that reflected off of plexiglass that showed somebody standing in the door where I'd seen this guy with a light long-sleeve blue shirt on.
All right, so we're back, and now we're actually going to get into all of the investigative work, the findings that Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigative Team actually found. I'm here with Monty Prescott. Monty, you guys have been on the Lexington, like I was talking to your mom, Margaret, about numerous times. For you, what was probably the one thing that stood out the most before we actually get into what you did find?
Well, for the Halloween special that we did, we were actually down there setting up cameras, and we're right by the mess hall. No one else was down there with us at the time, and you could actually hear like someone walking around with keys. There's no one down there. You're like, okay, that's a little weird. But we definitely got a lot of hits on the ghost boxes. You were there for a lot of them, but we got some interesting evidence from that night.
I love it. I've never experienced anything like this before, and this is why I'm so glad you guys are here to actually show us what you can find. So I'll let you kind of dive right into it, and we can start sifting through some of the most interesting things that you found.
Okay, so some of these we're going to classify as ghost box sessions and stuff like that. That's a little bit different than an EVP. An EVP comes in under the 300 megahertz range where our human ears can't hear it. Now, we did get one EVP on the ship, and it was at one time where a couple investigators that went down. But a lot of the ones that we did get are going to come straight from the ghost box and the SB7 spirit box.
All right, let's hear it.
So this was one of the times we were up there where the stage was. Warning. You're actually talking, and you can hear warning come across. Warning. And I can actually isolate it. See if I got it right here. You can actually hear it. So it's, it goes right along with the history of the ship. That is something that would be said constantly on a ship, warning people of, things coming through, things being moved. And a lot of times we get some that are unknown. And this is actually an unknown one. We can hear something, but we just can't make it out what it's saying. So you can hear it, but it's just so...
You know what's interesting? The sound, the voice each time sounds the exact same, like as if it was the same.
Exactly.
whatever it was, whether it's the same person or the same monitor, whatever, that's actually making this voice.
Yeah, you ask yourself the question, is it the same spirit that's trying to communicate? What is it trying to tell you? And you try to take those puzzle pieces and you put them together to try to see if the history matches up with what you're getting on the ship.
What I'm curious about, once you guys go through all of these findings, or when you get the findings from the first night, when you're there, how long does it take you to go through all of this?
Well, if you really start thinking about it, if we're there for 3 hours and you multiply that by 8 recorders, the hours add up. So 2 investigators will sit down, we'll start just going through it, and you have to listen to every second and every minute. And when you're listening for EVPs, you're not really listening for the obvious like we're talking here. You're listening for that background. You're listening for a voice that it's not a part of any one of us. And that's, just little by little, you'll pick it up more and more on how to learn how to do EVP.
And EVP stands for?
Electronic Voice Phenomenon.
And that's how we were able to get these.
Well, these right here, it is a form of EVP, but it's more along the lines of kind of like, if you've ever seen the movie White Noise with Michael Keaton, he's got the TV set up. They're coming in through the frequencies. They're using that energy, and they're coming through to try to make that communication. And with the SV7 Spirit Box, you're skipping through those radio frequencies constantly, so you're always having a new frequency. So if you start thinking about it in theory, how are you getting a sentence, and how are you getting the same voice if you're on a radio station for a split of a second?
How crazy.
It is.
So what we just listened to, that was when we were up on the stage. Where else did you find different paranormal activity throughout the ship?
Down towards the mess hall, we concentrated a little bit through there, and we got an orb. And a lot of paranormal investigators, they classify orbs differently. Some people believe they're dust or they're bugs. Some paranormal investigators believe that they're energy or spirits, and some of the time when you take them a picture, you can get a face or a nucleus or someone smiling in an orb. Being scientific about it, we look at it as orbs are energy. Spirits need energy to try to manifest themselves. So when we come to a part where there's a lot of orbs, there's a lot of energy, so we'll concentrate there more than any other place because spirits need that energy to manifest themselves.
And do you have other voice type investigations you could show us?
From the Lexington or different places?
For this one, yes.
Yes, I actually do. Let's go to help.
Okay, oh yeah, I remember this.
Help. You can see, you can hear yourself kind of like, did I really hear that? And a lot of times with our evidence, what we'd like to do is we look at our evidence and say, this is what we hear, but we love putting it out to the public and saying, what do you hear? Because just because something I hear, I want the public to make their own assumption of what they hear or what comes across to them, because that's what this is all about, is bringing the public together to say, hey, I hear something different, and like, wow, well, let's mark that down on our website or our YouTube page and stuff like that, because that's just more information for us to go through to kind of like, okay, so the next time we go back, we think we hear this one name, but someone else will hear this other name. We'll use that information to actually go back on and ask for that, the name the other person thought they heard.
Okay, so coming up, what we're going to do is we're going to dive in a little bit more with the Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigation Team on what some of these findings that they've had have correlated with other places that you guys have actually investigated. So we'll get to that after this break.
So basically I have the Ovulus. Basically what it is a dictionary inside of here that has said that spirits can use their energy to manipulate it and say what they're trying to say with the dictionary inside of it. What's the odds?
And this literally says, still says holiday. I mean, tomorrow is Halloween. It said holiday. And it said haste when you asked if it was a male or female.
Right.
So I wonder if that almost means that was someone's name.
Right,
I mean, what
it could be.
All right, so we're back here with Monty Prescott with the Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigation Team. And you guys have been doing this for a few years where you guys go to different places, investigate, have different findings. We heard a little while ago, and if you were watching on Facebook Live, you saw the help part. That was probably, for me, the scariest thing.
You could hear help. What do you need help with?
Do you need help?
Oh. Now that was clear. That was clear. You okay?
No.
I know.
But it was so cool. Where you were telling me you hear help a lot at other different places.
We do, like abandoned hospitals, other historical places, and it really gets you to thinking, you know, do they know that they have passed on, or what type of help can we try to give to them, or closure? Because that's what we kind of believe, that they're reaching out to try to a last message or some type of closure, a message that they're trying to pass on to a loved one. So we're kind of the go-between to try to just get that little bit of evidence to present and maybe find an answer to why they're there.
I know that, like what you were just saying, with help, I mean, especially here on the Lexington, why do you think they would have been asking for help? What was y'all's kind of point of view? Or
Well, especially with the Lexington, I mean, just being at wartime, the casualties, you know, almost 400 sailors had passed away on the ship. Of course, not all of them from, you know, the war, some of course being sick or accidents, but some of them might be in pain. It's a residual. It's kind of like, we're made of energy, and what happens when our time comes and that energy goes out?
I didn't know what to expect. I don't think a lot of people know what to expect, especially on the Lexington. And then when we got there, we got to see it live and really experience just some crazy things happening.
And that's really just one part of the investigation. There's so much more to go in depth with investigating and being able just to dive into it a little bit deeper. There's so many levels to paranormal investigating.
And let's talk about those different levels. I mean, what else would you, when you're explaining to somebody, what are all these different levels?
Well, certain times we like to just go off on our own, because sometimes you actually get more evidence that way. If you're by yourself and you're in an area, and I'm a male and I get a female voice, it's like, wow, okay, there was no other female with me. How did I get that piece of evidence? And of course, there's other equipment like parabolic mic. We do EVP burst sessions, the thermal imager to be able to set up in a room and just see if you can't get any type of anomalies. There's a lot that goes into a paranormal investigation, and of course, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of, we've been here for 2 hours, nothing has happened, so we'll sit around, and I like to call it, we just sit around and kind of talk and just kind of, how's your day and this and that, and it's kind of like you're ignoring them. And all of a sudden things start to happen, because now you're not giving them the attention that they're seeking. So now they're going to make their presence known to give you some type of evidence.
And one thing I'm sure a lot of people may say, oh, let's go and do these kinds of paranormal investigations at night. Does it always have to be at night?
A lot of people believe doing it at nights, like the bewitching hour and stuff like that, but paranormal activity can happen during the day or during the night. You know, there's been many stories on the USS Lexington where a sailor has been guiding people through on tours. They're like, oh, that gentleman down there, he was so nice. And they're like, what gentleman? There's no one down there in a sailor suit. I mean, but like I said, it can happen any time, day or night, but more people believe at night because it gives the spirits more anonymity to hide within the shadows.
What other different things did you guys find the night before Halloween, that we were all here, that you've experienced at other places?
Footsteps. I've experienced footsteps at other places, like Yorktown Memorial Hospital, a lot of the Heritage Park homes. The uneasy feeling. You do in certain parts get an uneasy feeling, but I really and truly believe it's because they're like, you're not supposed to be in this area, you need to leave.
When you talk about that uneasy feeling, is it almost like nausea? How do you feel?
It's hard to explain. It's kind of like if you've ever been in a room alone, you kind of feel like someone's just right there watching you. And you look around and you're like, there's nobody here, but I'm gonna turn a light on anyway.
Monty, is there anything else that you wanted to show us that really reached out to you, or anything at all that you'd like to show us?
The Lexington is a really awesome place to investigate and to check out. I personally cannot say it's haunted. I have to go back to the Jason and Grant when ghost hunters were down here, and they were on the ship. We've been on the ship multiple times, and I just have to concur. I don't think the Lexington is haunted, but I do believe the Lexington is very well staffed, and I believe that the sailors are still on the ship doing their duty, protecting this country and protecting the ship that they love.
All right, well, you heard him. Is the Lexington haunted? Really, that's up for you to kind of decide. You've seen all of the findings from the experts themselves to really figure out what it is that's on the Lexington. Of course, we'll find out a little bit more right after this break. And so we've already gone through all of the USS Lexington findings. Again, you guys can decide exactly Is it haunted or not? We'll let you guys figure that out, but we're still here with another expert from the Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigative Team, Shauna Davis. Shauna, you guys have actually been to the Berkler Mansion, which is in Beeville, and that's where we'll be heading next. What are the different things that you guys have experienced out there that we can kind of expect next time?
So at Berkler Mansion, the mansion's been around since 1936. It was built in 1936. It housed 5 sisters. The oldest sister had it built after their childhood home burnt down, and she wanted something that would stay safe for her family. So sorry, my mask keeps falling down. So she wanted something safe for her family. Some things that we've captured at Berkler Mansion, we've gotten some shadow figures, we've seen orbs, we've gotten, of course, different EVPs that could possibly be the sisters. Something that's pretty cool about the Berkler Mansion is the history behind it, and of course you have to watch to get a lot of the history. I'm not going to give it all away, but I will say that each sister had their own individual style. Their rooms are all different, but another thing that's kind of neat is normally when you live with family, there's one stove, one thing for everybody, doesn't need their own thing. But when it came to the sisters, each sister had their own object. They didn't want the other sister cooking for them, so each sister had their own stove, their own sink, their own little thing. If they went and bought cookbooks, each sister had their own copy.
Really unique situation. I'm very excited, and I know you were telling me earlier that you're excited for this one, for all of us to go there.
Yes, I actually love Berkler Mansion, not just because of the history that's attached to it, but the home itself. You can't see a home like that. She paid a little less than $50,000 to have the home built. Could you imagine having a huge mansion built for $50,000 today? That's not barely even a down payment on a good sized house. So it's got history, it's got space, and when you see it, you're gonna be amazed by it.
We are so excited, and of course you guys will get to see that next time. We're going to be there with the Corpus Christi Spook Central Paranormal Investigative Team. We got more coming for you. Again, we'll see you guys next time at the Berkler Mansion.